We have two cards in opposition, Mr. Charles Marcella and a Patty Floyd. Floyd has actually conceded time to you, so I believe you would have 4 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Please state your name and your address, please.
Charles Marcella, 231 North Roadway, and I live about 150 feet from the site as well.
Okay, thank you.
I do want to clarify that Mr. Sinclair, although he spoke in favor of the deferment, not in favor of the proposal. So that should be noted. Okay. I'm obviously here to speak in opposition to this. I believe that if you read the suggestion by Councilmember Giarrusso's office, it says that there currently are no type of housings that would be prohibited in this. And I think he could be creating a large non-conforming situation because there's an apartment complex called Sailboat Bay. There's 2 condo complexes, and there's a townhouse complex, and there's plans for something else, which I don't really know what it is at this point, in that area. So I think you're going to have a lot of non-conforming should this go forward. Also, the idea of not putting housing in, there's a plan to develop this with commercial. And right now, as we're dealing with housing and affordable housing, the concept of putting in 100 jobs needed for the restaurants and the retail without housing seems problematic. And when this was before the council, 2 groups spoke saying they didn't approve of this concept of putting all this commercial out there without including any housing for the workers. There are state laws 209 of 1906 and 92 of 1910, which I believe should be evaluated here because they say the use of the land was to be as a public park or an amusement park. And they really restrict the use of it. And I think we could be in conflict of what the state has wanted the lease to be for how New Orleans would use this land. You may have seen me send some stuff to you. I actually created a survey. We had 164 people respond. Only 10% live in the immediate area. Most of them were from nearby, but other parts of New Orleans and Jefferson Parish. And what we found was a lot of people want more recreation, more open space, much about what you see on the website for the city of New Orleans to protect our open space, especially if it's on the water. Historically, Councilmember Giarrusso, when he pushed this through at the last council meeting, said this had been historically commercial. He said, I want to remind everybody that it has been. But I'll tell you that I brought a couple of posters here so you can see. This is what the place looked like in 1914. This is West End Lakeshore Park. There was actually a rose garden at this end. This was one, there was nothing past that where you see Breakwater Drive and all. This was created, and then it existed as this, with the fountain in the middle. This picture here you can see is an aerial shot, and you can see the yard is still there. There's no commercial in this area we're talking about developing now, so historically, it's never been commercial. There were a few restaurants, but this is Jefferson Parish. And now with the pumping station, you cannot build there because of the flow of the pumping station. So we are not looking at an area that was historically commercial. We're looking at an area that has been undeveloped for over 100 years. The other question that was brought up was about the flum. And I actually last year put in an application that you would review the flum and bring it back to how it was before 2015. And my understanding was Councilmember Giarrusso's office blocked you from being able to hear that. So when you were doing the things in the past few months to get input from residents, it was not on the agenda because his office had approved the ability to include that in the description. The area has had many surveys since 2006, a very large expense to the Regional Planning Commission, and those surveys have indicated that it's saturated with restaurants and bars. So the idea right now is would we compete with that by allowing more development and the city getting involved in that? There is a Pelican Colony there on the water that's done very well, and we know, if you might have seen last week's paper, said the state has lost 20 out of 30 Pelican Colonies in the last 20 years. We've got one there. And it actually, this is a photo. You can see what they look like, amazing when they're on those pilings. And we'd love to increase that opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Marcella.
Okay. Thank you. I was just going to say that there is a play spot there right now that Nord had. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Can I ask a quick question?
Absolutely.
Of our Nord had some property there, and how long ago was that?
This was Mikey Retif Playspot, and if you look on your maps, to my opinion, it's still there. It still exists. This is where the pumping station is now.
Okay.
So when the pumping station was put in, it was put on top of this Nord Playspot. Where our thought is to just move that Playspot to this area here that we're looking at developing with restaurants. So yes, the Mikey Retif Playspot still exists.
Right, okay, yeah, I'm familiar with that area. It's on my running path, and I love it. I would like to ask staff about two things. First of all, the flum as it stands now, and I know you haven't completed the report, but what is it now? What was it historically? And if it's not the same, when was it changed?
Sure, so I'll speak to that as best I can. It's currently mixed-use maritime, which contemplates kind of a range of commercial and residential uses. I believe that has been unchanged since 2010 when the master plan was adopted. I may be wrong. And of course, the master plan was only adopted in 2010. So historically, there was the zoning, but not an underlying master plan designation.
And as you know, do you know of any state protections that might be there for green space, open space, or sanctuaries for species?
I'm not aware of that, no.
Okay. All right, thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else here to speak on this matter? If not, then we would be
And
looking...
Commissioner Wittry,
Yes.
just to correct myself, I said deferral to August 8th before. We're actually recommending deferral to August 22nd.
22nd. Thank you. Is there a motion for deferral of the zoning docket?
I'll move to defer this item to the August 22nd meeting.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Is there a second?
Commissioner Flick will second.
Thank you, Commissioner Flick. We have a motion for deferral for August 23rd. And Commissioner Steig,
Yes.
Commissioner Brown,
Yes.
Commissioner Flick,
Yes.
Commissioner Lund,
Yes.
Commissioner Wittry, yes. So we have, that motion carries. Thank you all for coming in today.